Let's join the road less traveled in progress.
Came here, oh gosh, maybe I'm saying, let's see, 6 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, maybe 7. And Atticus was a little puppy then. And this young boy was just a rascally rabbit young man. And they struck up a great friendship just in a matter of a couple of hours and played in the yard and did things. He was with the church group that came. And that friendship has lasted all these years. In fact, through the years, he got sick and had to have his appendix out. And so we took Atticus down to see him, and we let Atticus stay with him while we did some running around. And we went back, and he always asked me if we ever got rid of Atticus, he'd like to have him. And we told him we weren't planning on that, but, maybe if we ever decided to let him get married, he could have one of the pups. So this past week he came by, and we kind of got this young man started in a little business, and I think we've mentioned it before on the show. He wanted to make some extra money, and so he started out pulling garbage cans to the roads for some elderly people, and he did it and asked them only payment for once a month. And from that, he got his driver's license and did pretty well. And so as the people became older, they would want him to run to the grocery store, and he made a firm rule. He handled no money. He did not handle a debit card or a credit card. But if they would call the grocery stores and tell them what they wanted, have it ready, pay for it on the phone, then he would bring it home. Well, some of the local grocery stores knew these people were elderly, so they did it for him. So he branched out to delivering groceries. And then he started doing their yard work. And from there, if we have any bad weather, he goes and clears sidewalks and things off. And he's got a jam up little business going. So every once in a while, he comes by to see Atticus. And sometimes he'll spend the afternoon with him. But this week, he asked him if Atticus could go with him. And, of course, we let him go. And he was on the leash. And he went with him to, it was collect day. Collect the money, because some of them get paid middle of the month. Some of them get paid the first of the month. And so they did their collecting, what they had to do, and the grocery shopping that they wanted them to do. And he was very, we've said all along that Atticus is the meet and greet fellow of the bunch. He's the socializer. He loves people. So he went up with him, and of course he won the hearts of all the elderly people, because he's very cordial and he likes to get hugs and he likes to be petted. And so he went with them. And the only problem he had was that Atticus wanted to pee on all the bushes, and he wouldn't let him do that. He made him come to the end of the walk and pee on the telephone poles and things. But they rode to the grocery store, and he locked him in while he went in and got everything, and then they delivered. So on the way home, they stop and get a hot dog. So Atticus has a hot dog, and he has a hot dog, and they come by, and they see Mr. and Ms. Mize, as some neighbors that we had that Atticus loved their koi pond, and I was always afraid that he would absolutely knock every fish they had out of the pond, because he'll jump right in the middle of it. But he didn't do that this time. He was a gentleman, and he had a real busy afternoon and had a wonderful day. And when he came in, he looked up at me like, work, work, work. I'm so tired. I just want to go get in my house. I don't want to go to sleep. So I let him in the bedroom, and he crawled on his pillow up under the bed and he slept. But he had a gay time. Meet, greet, eating hot dogs. And I think it's going to be kind of a thing with him because he wants him to go back with him because all the elders liked him. They thought he was a handsome fella. He is. He is a handsome fella. They want him to come back. So Atticus has a new job. He's going to be the meet and greet guy.
Yeah, he's a con artist.
Yeah, he is.
That's his claim to fame. He's working for the wrong organization.
That he is. He's a con artist.
He
You better believe that.
He could be running numbers downtown or something. I don't know.
He's a charming fella. He's good looking, and he's charming, and he can woo them. But he still loves those blondes.
Yeah,
Something about a blonde. He's got a thing for a blonde.
Yeah, he's just, I don't know. He's definitely the hot mess of the family. Maybe. I'm not sure. That's a tough
one to call.
Yeah, that's a tough one to call. Anyway, getting into some of the funny stuff that we like to talk about over here is one of the funny things is that, guess what? I didn't start the archive until you already were talking. So we'll have to do something like joining the road less traveled in progress or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, got so carried away. I was so excited to be. I don't know what I mean, some days are better than others. I guess this is one of the good days, and I'm calling it Road Liberty Media.
You did say that.
I don't believe I did that. That's what happens when you get old, you know. But I think that also happened here in Germany. Now, I don't know. There's a story that popped up. Kind of a funny, well, it's beyond a funny story. But I think in order to get the humor to this, I have to have lived there. And I was very fortunate to have spent 3 years of my life living in Germany. And I can see how this happened. But a man is reunited with his car after 20 years because he forgot where he parked it.
Oh, my God. That's hard for me to believe.
Oh, no, it's not hard for me to believe. A German driver who forgot where he parked his car 20 years ago recently had the car returned to him. Authorities in Frankfurt, Germany, of all places, Kaiserstrasse, if you know what I'm talking about. Authorities in Frankfurt, Germany, found the car parked in a garage building. The reason why the car suddenly became conspicuous after being parked there for so long is that the building is now set for demolition. Wow. It seems that at the time of the disappearance of the car, the owner of the car phoned the authorities to report that it was missing. After it was found, the police drove the now 76-year-old owner, let's see, he was 56 at the time, that's about the right age, to be united with the Volkswagen Passat. However, after 20 years of inactivity in the garage, the car was deemed unfit to drive. I can't even imagine the dry rot of the tires and all the belts and who knows what. Wow.
Yeah, but I bet it was really something to see.
I bet so. Yeah, the owner had reported that it was stolen back in 1997. And when he was asked about it, when they were asked about it, the Frankfurt authorities said the car can no longer be driven and will be sent to the scrap heap. The only reason it was ever found was because it was in the way. I can't even imagine what. Well, no, I can't imagine. I mean, this guy. Yeah.
Well, it would have had a tag on it, right?
Well, sure, but nobody pays attention to that. It just sat in the parking space in this building for 20 years. Man, that must have been a good night that night.
What was the man drinking that made him forget?
Well, I don't know. It's probably being German. Probably.
It was on some good stuff.
Yeah, it's some beers. Yeah, maybe a little Rastapushtama, which I don't recommend to any living human. But nonetheless, there it is. A man is finally finds his car after partying 20 years ago. Wow. How many people I wonder how many times that happens to people, though, really. I mean, you go out and get so wound up that you forgot where you parked. What do you
Well,
think?
grandmother had a neighbor, some elderly neighbors, and we were all on the porch. I was young, and we saw the elderly man come down um, the road in the car, and then we saw him walking back, and it wasn't but a minute till he went down, came out of the house, and went back up toward the grocery store. And grandmother said he forgot he drove his car, and in just a little bit, there he came back driving it. So that does happen, but I can't see losing it that many years.
That had to be rough.
I think that's some kind of trickery or something to make a story. I just don't believe it was gone that long.
I don't think so. I mean, after having lived there, I can tell you. So he probably fell out of the guest house and was looking around, saying, "What century is this?" And he said, "I can't find my car. Let me call the polizei." And once he called the polizei and reported stolen, he figured they'll find it. And no, they never did. So anyway, it's an interesting place. At least it used to be. From what I gather today, it's probably not the same as it once was. So, what about snow? We got a little snow this week, didn't we, Gigi's Wood?
Yeah, we did. Not much, but we got some.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Most of it's gone today. It's working on getting away, although the temperature is supposed to get down to like a really low tonight. So for those folks, I'm sure nobody around here listens to the show, probably not. But anyway, if you're in an area like where it snows, like Moose Girl, it snows 13 months out of the year in Wisconsin. You have to be careful about the black ice, where the sun comes out and melts the snow, and the water runs on the road, and then it freezes again when the temperatures drop in the evening. So you got to be careful about that, because that's really the dangerous thing. Because it only takes...
Yeah, black ice is real bad here, too.
Yeah, it would be, and because of the climate here. Mm-hmm. But you get that maybe hour or two of really cold air. Now, usually it's right before sunrise because of the convection and all that good stuff. And that very thin layer of water will freeze over. It could just be in a couple of spots. It won't be like generally on the road, just a few spots in the low-lying areas. And all you got to do is hit that. And I'll tell you what, you can't, once you're gone on ice, you're just gone.
You gone.
Because there's nothing you can do. It's just so. Word to the wise. Just be careful about the black ice. But up in Alaska, where folks are used to that kind of weather, but they weren't used to this one. According to the Anchorage Daily News, 2 days ago, Alaska just recorded one of the most extreme snowfall rates on record, which was 10 inches per hour. Imagine.
God, that's so, woo.
Almost a foot an hour coming down in Anchorage. And they'd never seen that before. So, where's Al Gore when you need him? We need some global warming.
Uh-huh. Sure.
10 inches per hour. And, the article just goes on to say, imagine going to a movie theater to check out the latest science fiction flick, and there's not a single flake of snow on the ground. A couple hours later, you mosey on outside, and you're stunned to find your car buried in more than a foot of snow. That's what happened at Alaska's Thompson Pass outside the town of Valdez, where an incredible 10 inches of snow piled up in 1 hour, around 1.7 inches every 10 minutes. And it is, apparently a record-breaking event. They said on December 2nd, 1966, 12 inches fell in an hour in Copenhagen, New York. And in January 26, 1972, Oswego, New York, was inundated with 17.5 inches in a 2-hour period. But both of those were the result of lake effect snow, which is very different from what you see in Alaska when you have North Pole effect snow in Alaska. Wow. I have some friends up in Alaska, some in just outside of Anchorage, so they probably had a little bit of snow. Some good people. Used to be our next door neighbors back a long time ago. What do you think about that snow, geez, Boo? What would you do with all that?
Stay in the house and make veggie soup and watch it.
That sounds good to me. Yeah, there's something about that kind of weather. I really like it. It gets me all fired.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, it gets me all
I like it. I like the solidarity
of
being one with nature and seeing it and being safe and warm on the inside and watching it snow. And I like to cook when it snows.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe we're funny, but I tell you what, I like to be in a place where it snows like that, and that means no one can get to you.
And you can't get out.
And
we like that.
Yeah,
like that.
You
Being
can't
split.
get out. And like you said, you make that big old cast iron pot of vegetable soup or vegetable stew or something like that. You can just sit back and just enjoy the solitude.
Good music on, read a book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lots of things you can do when you're snowed in.
That's it. It is. It's something. It goes. I think it goes back to that old thing. Sometimes there are people out there who have trouble being alone. You know what I'm talking about?
That's never been your and I problem.
No.
Never.
But, yeah. I mean, how can you be comfortable with someone else if you can't be comfortable with your own company?
I think that's one of the very first conversations you and I ever had after we met was how comfortable we are with our own self. We're usually our own best friends, and we're very comfortable with who we are. We don't have to be entertained. That's usually what's wrong with the country now. That's when you see a TV on all the time. Now, music, I like music. I don't want to be in dead silence. I like to have music or something going, but I don't. No offense, the housewives of New Jersey. Girls, let's take a trip.
Oh,
let's
God,
go here.
please.
Let's go there with that whining voice. I swear to God, I just want to reach through and slap them. I can't even stand to even be flipping and see them. And I don't like any of those stupid talk shows and stuff like that with all that fighting and going on. I think, good God, don't you have something else you could possibly do? Possibly? I don't know.
Yeah, it was like, anyway, I don't get it. That's a different rabbit. I really don't want to go there because it just makes me think of all those whiny voices and needy people and always trying to hang on. Whoa, what are you doing? Shut up. What I was doing is enjoying myself before you bugged the hell out of me with some kind of stupid question that means nothing. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But you were actually talking about this technology that we're surrounded with. Well, it does have some side effects, Gigi's Boo, as is reported here by the local news, actually. A surgeon, now we're talking about a doctor, allegedly was talking on his cell phone while he was performing an operation, and he's being sued over it. This apparently occurred in New York, or a New York woman, it says, who was undergoing an operation, says her surgeon used his cell phone during surgery. According to Associated Press, Mary Edwards, 70, was having surgery to correct her varicose veins when she said her doctor, Eric Fishman, began to take a language test on his cell phone. After the surgery, Edwards said Fishman told her he was taking a Spanish proficiency test. Edwards is suing Fishman and his employer, WestMed Medical Group, for an unspecified amount of money in damages. What in the world is going on? And we talked about this, about folks who can't get their faces out of the cell phones. But here's just another example that there's something else going on with this, isn't there?
Of course.
What do you think that might be?
That people have become so accustomed to doing with this cell phone and all this stuff that they don't know how to hold a conversation with a real person face to face. There's lots of funny videos on YouTube of where people are on cell phones or texting or something. They step off into a lake, or they step off into or trip over into a parking lot, or they even meet death, step out in front of cars. They're not paying any attention to what they're doing. So it could just, it's just people have lost interest. Everything's technology. Technology. I just don't see that.
Yeah, it's nuts. And something we talked about is a little slightly off, not really off topic. Of course, I think a lot of you know that I'm kind of a train freak, especially the old steam locomotives and things like that. Train operations in general have always been a fascination to me, even when I was a little bitty fella back in those stone tablet days, when I had the opportunity, back before all the insurance companies and lawyers took over the world, I could go down to the local train station and hang out with the station master and do all kinds of neat stuff, to include getting on some of the trains that stopped there at the engines, and that was really cool. Excuse me. But anyway, nowadays, we hear about, and we don't hear about it a lot, but it has happened, that kids will be walking down the railroad tracks with their earbuds in, listening to their phones or MP3s or whatever, and get run over by a stupid train. What is wrong with that, Gigi's Boo?
It's wrong because they're not paying attention. And why would they be on a cell phone listening to music, walking in a dangerous place? Now, we played all over the railroad tracks. We were forever putting pennies and taping them down, because if you didn't tape them, they'd shimmy off with the vibration. But we'd tape them down and go back, and our pennies would be flattened and stuff like that. But Lord have mercy, not like these kids are doing now. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, we were talking about this a couple of days ago, and I can remember as a kid. Now, if you grew up around the tracks, and like I did, and a lot of us, in my network did, you knew when a train was coming a long time before you actually saw it, because the rails will start to ping. Because the joints and how the rails are laid, and the wheels of the train are hitting those joints, and that sound will travel down the rails, and you'll actually hear the rails pinging a long time before you see or hear the train. So anyone who's been around at all, who's had the opportunity to get out in the world, in that type of arena, you'll know that there's a train coming. And guess what you don't do when a train comes? You don't stand on the rails. But there could be something else to this, Gigi's Boo, because the despicable CNN website, and this may or may not be fake news, you can judge for yourself, put out an article in their health section talking about smartphone addiction could be changing your brain. Changing brains. We hear a lot about that lately, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. And they say you may be one of the growing number of Americans or global citizens. So they had to slip that in there, didn't they? Talk about something we'll talk about in a little bit, talk about entrainment. You may be one of the growing number of Americans who has a bit of nomophobia. Oh, a new word. Nomophobia. You mutter as you read this on your ever-present smartphone. Of course not. No mobile phone phobia is what that really is supposed to mean. And they say it's a 21st century term for the fear of not being able to use your cell phone or other smart device. Cell phone addiction is on the rise, surveys say. And a new study released Thursday adds to a growing body of evidence that smartphones and internet addiction is harming our minds, literally. So how do you know if you're addicted? Well, there's an online course or quiz, actually, that you can take to find out. And it's been translated.
You don't have to take a course. You just see how long you can stay away from it. If you can't stay away from it for 24 hours, you got a problem.
Right. This quiz has actually been translated into Spanish, Italian, and Turkish, and it has a link to you can actually take the quiz if you have concerns that you might be addicted. But one of the questions would be, I would feel uncomfortable without constant access to information to my smartphone, and of course it's scaled from 1 to 7, with 1 being strongly disagree and 7 being strongly agree. Jump down a little bit. If I did not have my smartphone with me, I would be nervous because I could not know if someone had tried to get hold of me. Number 20. If I did not have my smartphone with me, I would feel weird because I would not know what to do. And these are actual questions. Now, there's an amazing abundance of social statements tied into all of this. And I wouldn't even know where to start to deconstruct it. I mean, here's another one. If I did not have my smartphone, I would feel anxious because I could not instantly communicate with my family or friends. Geez, boo, you want to take off with that? I mean, there's a lot of directions to go.
Well, I can see it if you're out traveling. You need the phone if you were to break down. But what is wrong with going to see your family, talking face to face, instead of saying, oh, if I don't have my phone, I can't get in touch with my family? You know, I was just thinking while you were talking, I don't even know where my cell phone is. That's something in it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it makes me think back yet again in the Stone Tablet days that we had a party line. And a lot of people are probably out there saying, what's a party line? A party line is because it happens, or used to happen, when you had more than one family on the same telephone line. And you only knew that the phone call was for you because it rang differently.
Sure did.
And
I've heard that up in the Appalachians, yeah.
Sure. And you had a party line, and you didn't stay on the party line too long talking to Zelda too much, because the neighbor who also shared the party line would be picking it up, saying, you're clicking the phone, because they're mad because you're tying up the phone. Not that they wanted to use it. They just wanted to make sure that it was available for use. So anybody who, but anyway, that's often a rabbit run. But the point being that you didn't have phones. There weren't answering machines in my day anyway. We'd go out and we'd run the woods all day long, and if you wanted to see someone, you'd go to their house, wouldn't you, Gigi's Boo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'd go say, hi, how you doing? Or you'd walk by and people would be out in the yard and say, hi, how you doing? I remember many, many events or occasions, rather, of going up in the woods. And this is a different topic I'm not going to get into, but there were people there who lived there. And they were first-generation slave people, okay? They were the offspring of slaves, former slaves. And I'd sit on the porch with these people, and I'd listen to the stories that they would tell. We'd have conversations, and it was an amazingly enriching experience to grow up that way. And I'll tell you what, history was much different because I heard it from the horses' mouths. History was much different than we're told. But we'll just leave it at that. But the point is that you'd make these trips and visits, and if you want to find out what's going on, you go hang out on the store porch. Then you hear about what's going on in your community. You didn't need to be on the texting and blah blah and all this crap. Now, I mean, there's a place for that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a anti-technologist or whatever it is, but as with many things, it's taken too far. And I'm going near, yeah, about 150 last time I counted. Now, anyway, it has its place, but it gets taken out of context. And there's actually, though, apparently technology that helps it get that way. And the changing the brain stuff is a little bit of that. So the question is posed, what's wrong with being a cell phone junkie after all? Everybody does it. Obviously, there are some serious ramifications to having a cell phone habit. According to the CDC, mobile phone use is partially to blame for the distracted driving that kills an estimated 9 people each day and injures more than 1,000. The prevalence of texting while driving has reached epidemic proportions. And one study from Pew Research Center said half of U.S. adults admit to reading or sending text messages while driving. But it's worse for teens. Nearly 1 in 3 16 or 17-year-olds said they have texted while driving. And, of course, the poor old millennials, they catch all the heat, and they're considered the worst offenders. 59% of people between the age of 18 and 33 reported texting while driving, compared with 50% of Generation X's and only 29% of baby boomers. And this article goes on and on. But what's really part of what's going on here? Now, personally, and I think other people think this is true, something called brainwave entrainment. And there's a link here for those who like to get into this kind of stuff about neurofeedback and brainwaves and neuroplasticity and so forth and so on. But brainwave entrainment is a method to stimulate the brain into entering a specific state by using pulsing sounds, lights, or electromagnetic fields. The pulses elicit the brain's frequency-following response, encouraging the brain waves to align in frequency of a given beat. Now, that could be subliminal, too, couldn't it? Mm-hmm. So is something like that going on with cell phones? Is it going on with whatever these smart TVs or whatever the heck those things are? In 1997, a Japanese television station broadcast a light and sound strobe effect as part of a cartoon. In only 5 seconds, it put 700 children into hospital with seizures, and untold thousands more experienced headaches, dizziness, and nausea. So if you think that it doesn't have an effect, you might want to really think it through a little better, because there are things that affect you that you may or may not even be aware. Okay, and you hear about subliminal, the power of suggestion, subliminal advertising, and all that kind of stuff. There is something to that, whether you like it or not. And what better way to put an electronic device in your hand, basically 24/7, and what an amazing way to harvest you. Another way of harvesting you. So take your money, take your time, take your effort, take your attention. Anything to comment on that, Gigi's Boo?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, let's keep moving. That can be a very horrible subject. But what about Amazon? See, Amazon and I are on the outs right now. I'll go ahead and tell you. I don't know.
Oh, God. You've had some real strange things happen with Amazon.
Yeah, I have, of late. In fact, within the last 4 months.
2 months. Yeah.
Well,
4 months.
Overall, within the last 4 months, I've received 4 packages that I did not order. They came to me, came to my address. They came from people I had never heard of, according to Amazon, who most of the time, not always, but most of the time, they tell me who actually made the order. But I never heard of these people, so they were rejected, obviously. Well, while at the same time, I can order things and they never get here.
Oh, I know, about our couch,
Yeah, go ahead and tell that story.
Yeah, we ordered a couch, and it was supposed to be by 8 o'clock that night. And I looked, and still at 1 minute till 8 out for delivery. 8 o'clock, a message came up that it had been delayed, and if it wasn't here in 5 days to look further into it. And I said, 5 days, hell, we don't even have anything to sit on. So I got on the phone with them, and they said, well, we don't know. It could be, the first story they gave us is, well, it's out, and the driver just didn't get by there today. It'll be here tomorrow by 8 o'clock. And the next day it didn't come, and when I checked, nothing. It was still the same message up. So called them back, and they said, oh, I'm so sorry. Here is where somebody signed for it. It's been signed for. It was delivered. It showed it had been delivered here, and a person we had never heard of had signed for it. And I said, that did not come here. So you better put something on there to track it, to find it, to do something. Well, then the next thing you know, when I called back, I called Amazon. They reshipped me another one. And they said, we'll take care of this. You don't have to worry. I said, oh, I'm not worried. I know I'm not going to pay for it twice. So I said, Gary, you're not going to believe this. Called FedEx, and they said the person that signed for the couch was an Amazon employee. And I said, how do you know? And they said, because it went back to the distribution center. Okay, ours came, took them about 3 days to send the other one, the replacement. Had it put together, and I called Gary. I said, Gary, you're not going to believe this. FedEx is out here with another sofa. So I said, we've already gotten the sofa. They just delivered it. He said, when? And I said, you see the box? It's put together. Everything's here. And they said, well, you want us to deliver it, and then you can call us to come back and pick it up? I said, no, don't take it off the truck. I'll refuse it. So I refused it. And Amazon nor FedEx can tell me what happened. I can tell you what happened. Somebody was going to keep that couch. And we got in behind it and pursued it. And it was bought with a credit card that whoever had it put it back on the truck, and it was sent back and rerouted here again after we had a replacement. They've lost it. I mean, it's not, Amazon used to be the top place to order from. Not anymore.
Yeah, and that's
crazy stuff. And all this stuff coming for Gary. And it's stuff like you craft with, like washi tape. And what else did they send you? We could feel it. It was, I can't remember.
I don't know. I stopped. I don't open the boxes, okay? Because I know I didn't order it. And the reason is because I am now boycotting Amazon. I'm not buying crap from them. I've told them so. And if you can't keep your business in order, then you just leave me alone, because I don't want anything to do with you. As a matter of fact, on that note, it turns out now that guess who is outselling Amazon online?
Walmart.
Walmart, check it out. Go to walmart.com. You can order anything there, and the shipping is free, and it gets to your house. Okay, so, check out walmart.com. Amazon, I don't know what's going on. However, in the Washington Business Journal, Amazon or web services, now interestingly, they call themselves AWS. And I think maybe that's to kind of make you think that, or distract away from the fact that it's actually Amazon. But AWS launches a secret region for intelligence customers. They said Monday, which this was middle of November, that it had launched a cloud service for the federal government's intelligence community that can host software and data classified at the secret level. So Jeff Bezos, the guy who owns Amazon now and the Washington Post, and has been doing work with CIA, to be most specifically, seems to be more interested in this aspect of the business than the bread and butter of delivering packages to their good customers. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take them on. You got a problem with that? Well, I can show you. There's no libel here. It's all in the black and the white, and I have it all saved. But anyway, they say the U.S. intelligence community can now execute their missions with a common set of tools, a constant flow of the latest technology, and the flexibility to rapidly scale with the mission. Blah, blah, blah. Of course, this comes 6 years after Amazon launched GovCloud, its cloud data center region for public sector customers. In 2013, CIA picked Amazon to provide its cloud computing services in a 10-year deal worth $600 million. So there you are. There's Amazon for you. They're coming out of the closet, I suppose, in many ways. What do you think? Any thoughts on that, Gigi's Boo?
I don't know. I just think, why should the government have anything any different? What happened to the old way of keeping government secrets? This is just opening up for somebody to break into, in my opinion. Decode it, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. It just shows how far we've fallen, but it just shows, it's just another example how the great eventually fall, and through history we see that people build up these little kingdoms, these fiefdoms, these grand constructs that eventually collapse under their own weight. And I think we're seeing Amazon heading in that direction. And it's the way it goes. Like I said, you have alternatives. You have academy.com. Check that out. That's another neat little website that I very much enjoy. It's mostly sporting type goods, but they have a lot of different things. But also, like I said, Walmart, as much as Walmart, but they're becoming a web monster as far as e-commerce is concerned. So check that out. As opposed to Amazon. Amazon, like I said, is off the list for me. So I guess as I'm winding up here, let's head into some good news, Gigi's Boo. Also from the local news. Anonymous Secret Santa gives $5,000 to a couple who lost one of their twins at birth. Matt Brayman and his wife Cassie received $5,000 from an anonymous donor after recently losing one of their twins 15 minutes after she was born. Brayman could only say wow, as he was surprised, but with a check by EastIdahoNews.com news reporter Nate Eaton. My wife and I were expecting twins, Brayman said, who works for a trucking company. She delivered them at 23 weeks. Our daughter Audrey didn't make it. She passed away. Audrey's brother Tim will remain in Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah for another 2 months, Brayman said. His wife is in Utah with the baby, while Brayman has remained in Idaho Falls to work and care for their toddler son, Calvin. A friend told East Idaho News that these amazing people continue to stay positive and hopeful in the face of separation, fear, exhaustion, and a mountain of debt. I can't think of anyone more deserving of the help for their tiny Tim than the Braymans. The surprise was made possible thanks to a secret Santa who had teamed up with EastIdahoNews.com to donate a total of $200,000 to local families in need. Among them is a father of 4 with ALS, who recently received a surprise donation of $10,000. The secret Santa does not wish to be identified. What do you think, Cheaties Boo?
Don't know.
As you said, there is still good in the world, don't you think so?
Yes, but we need more people like that. We need more good people in the world. I'm tired of so many people that are so ugly and rude and everything, you know.
Yeah, but I think it goes even beyond that. It goes to the point that we do have the capability to take care of one another locally.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to be
knowing who your neighbor is.
Right. And
being a good neighbor.
Stepping up when
it's needed.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you have to have $1 million or something like that. It could just be a simple thing as knocking on a door, or making a rounds at a hospital or an old folks home.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of the things that I think that you do, Gigi's Boo, that are kind of along those lines, right?
Oh yeah, I'm always taking things out to nursing homes and to different people, visiting, taking soup. Sometimes I don't think that the people really need what I bring, like lap robes and things like that. They appreciate that. But I think most of all, they appreciate having someone to talk to. They're forgotten. God, how can anybody forget somebody in their family? Now, true, some of them don't have family. Some of them are all alone, but most of them have.
Yeah. And
sad.
It's even like taking Atticus around. he enjoys doing that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
and
he gets lots of hugs and loves and the whole 9 yards, and it's just really sweet the way he does. It really is.
Yeah. So rather than texting on the cell phone,
go see him.
Maybe some of the time could be best spent stepping out into the world a little bit, stepping out into some of these assisted living areas, and it doesn't have to be anything big deal. Any of these places you can go into and you can ask the staff who might enjoy a little FaceTime, and they'll know exactly who to put you in with. Doesn't have to be a big deal. Just be a little hello and how are you, and I don't know.
One little lady in a nursing home was all alone, and somebody asked her what she would like to have for Christmas, and she said nothing but a box of cherry chocolates. And I thought, wow, that's all. So made sure that she was not diabetic. Got her 2 boxes and sent them out there to her.
Yep. Anyway,
simple things, very simple things.
Yeah, don't lose sight of, how I don't know how to say this exactly. Don't lose sight of what the basic important things are in life. Big hint here is not things.
That's right.
So anyway, Gigi's Boo, 8:00. So you got anything else to offer here?
Nothing but just what I always say. Be sure to take the road less traveled. And I love you all big to my heart. Y'all have a good week.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this week on the Road Less Traveled. Sorry I didn't get the front end recorded for the archive, but that's okay. It happens. We got the most of the show. So anyway, hope you guys have a great week and enjoy yourselves and be careful out there. And we'll catch up with you next week on the Road Less Traveled. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.